What is up, everybody? It is the Dark Conservatarian, and yes, I am back with another news/response stream, as I'll first be responding to the Progressive Voice, but before that, gonna be actually reviewing an article that I had featured last episode but didn't quite get into reading, and then after the response to Progressive Voice, we're gonna get into a little bit of reading on HR 1, the For the People Act, and then also going to be reading into a riot that happened in Portland, Oregon, that apparently I completely missed out on, did not get paying attention on. But yes, and hello everybody who has joined us so far. Mikhail, Stray Cat, JC Armitage, and Invisible Hand. Nice to have you back with us, Mikhail. And what's up? My blood pressure, says Mikhail. Well, sorry to hear about that. JC Armitage says, very clickbait title you got there. Yeah, I guess you could say so. But in my defense, Progressive Voice has very clickbaity titles himself, generally speaking, and this video is no exception, as he goes saying that he debunked Ben Shapiro, when I think that he's kind of full of crap on that. But anyway, to actually get into the subject, as I have no co-host with me so far here, but hey, I guess I'm a lone wolf, generally speaking, on these streams anyways. But anyway, to get started, like I said, taxfoundation.org. This was, if you guys have watched the last episode, I featured this article gone sharing or showing the little graph here at least about what I was saying, and what I actually pre-read this article for me to go reviewing it in this episode, and it pretty much goes lining up with what I was suspecting it to be. It just goes explaining basically that, as the title kind of plainly says, taxes on the rich were not that much higher in the 1950s. The proposed rates of income taxes were much higher in the 1950s than these days, but the actual amount of money that they took from rich people, the total amount that being, was not that much higher in the 1950s as compared to today. It's about 10% lower, if I recall the article correctly. So yeah, it just strikes a little bit of a nick in the whole narrative from leftists saying that, oh, we had taxes a lot higher in the 1950s and yet we thrived back in those days when we had a higher tax rate, you know. So it's not so much that we were thriving because of the high tax rates. I don't even think that so many leftists say that it's because of the high tax rates why we thrive. And I wouldn't even say that it's really in spite of us taking so much money from rich people. It seems to be that it was more like we did not take that much money to begin with. Or at least not that much more in comparison to nowadays anyways. To put it plain and simple. And this is going to be an article that I will be featuring, or maybe I'll go into the actual source that this article provides, the the source's source. But this little tidbit of information is going to be featured in my response video to Tim Horn that I'm still working on, folks. Rest assured. Yeah. So, to get on to the main meat of today's live stream, Ben Shapiro, abortion, strawmen, and feelings over facts debunked. So, I had watched this pretty much the same month or week, whatever, that it was posted by Progressive Voice. And I was thinking to myself, what do you mean by this? And so I gone watching through it, and I thought that there was one point that Progressive Voice at least had on his side, and that is that Ben kind of did strawman Olivia Wilde, I think is what her name is. But there's a whole bunch of other shit that he said that I thought was off base, especially putting further thought into it. And so now I am finally getting around to actually responding to this video that I've been holding off for years, really, but even for like a few weeks, been planning on responding to this live. Originally, I was wanting to do an edited response video to this and the last video of Progressive Voices that I responded to live, but I thought, I got so many other priorities for editing projects, so might as well just get these videos out of the way via live stream. So, anyway, let's get right into it without any more meandering.
Now this one, this is the thing I really hate. Here's Olivia Wilde, who's the actress most famous from being in House, and here she is talking about why she is in favor of abortion. This is one of the more disgusting videos I've ever seen.
This election cycle, I'm thinking a lot about reproductive rights. Everyone's right to plan when they want to have a family. And it's on my mind because I'm literally about to have a baby. Like, in a minute. To be able to decide exactly how...
Okay, so, she says that she's thinking about reproductive rights 1 minute from having a baby. This is about as perverse a notion as I could possibly imagine. That as you're about to have your child, you're thinking, boy, wouldn't it be great if I could still kill this thing?
Now, that line right there is not really the straw manning part of Ben's line, just to give out a little bit of clarification. But in the next line, as I had re-listened to this video earlier today at work, he goes later on using, instead of could, he uses should. Which when he uses the word should, Man Shapiro is a meme, says Mr. DJ Fly, hi and hello to the program. Ben Shapiro, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, he can be a meme a lot of times. But in the next line, he's going to be, saying what Olivia is saying supposedly is maybe I should kill it. Now, what Olivia just essentially said there was Ben was pretty much steel manning on, from what I could make of it anyways. Her question basically goes along the lines of, could I just go ahead and have the right to kill it or whatever else, or terminate it more specifically if you want to get extra pedantic. And really, I just gotta sympathize with Ben on that front, at least, that you are arguing over the idea of whether or not that you should. Well, I do not know specifically if Olivia Wilde is actually for late-term abortions, but she is so late in her pregnancy, or at least she looks that way anyways, and with the way that she goes saying her beliefs and whatnot, her thoughts about reproductive rights, it almost comes off like the implication, or like if she's implying that maybe I should have the right to have a late-term abortion. It just goes posing the question to people's minds, does she believe that? Because there is kind of a heavy implication of that. And just, even the notion itself, I'm just going to continue. I've rambled enough anyways.
It's really imperative that I be able to still kill this thing. Here I am.
Be able to. Yes, that is the question and belief that all pro-choicers believe, is that they be able to get an abortion.
Look how pregnant I am. There's a baby in here. This is my beautiful child. And I was thinking, maybe I should just kill it. It's really important.
Now that right there is the straw manning part. Bad, Ben. Bad. You should not have used the word should. You said maybe I should just kill it, referring to Olivia and her sentiment. She did not definitively say within that video, I am definitely getting an abortion on this thing inside of me. And as soon as I can get the ability, I am going to go through with it. But, yeah, it's simple as that. Ben, when he used the word should, was the straw man right there. Could and should are two different words, just to clarify.
That women be able to kill it anytime they please. She continues along these lines, not, of course, understanding really what she's saying on a moral level.
How and when and why and where.
Well, yeah, pretty much I agree with what he said right there. On the moral level, you go even pondering the mere question of whether or not you should be allowed to kill your own child. Regardless of what we think about the personhood of the fetus, whatever we think of the science or whatnot, supposing that it is a child, that it is definitively and objectively agreed upon to be a child, there is a big moral weight in that question. Again, presuming that they are definitely a child. Ha, bad Shapiro, like he's a dog, says Invisible Hand. Pretty much.
I want to have a baby, and I believe that is a basic human right.
1 second.
How and when and why and where I want to have a baby, and I believe that is a basic human right. I care about reproductive rights. What do you care about? If you care...
It's Ben Shapiro again, talking about abortion this time, and he is employing the appeal to emotion, and very funny that he has this kind of...
Appeal to emotion. is it really that much appeal to emotion? I mean, here's the problem that I have with the abortion debate. I mean, the side that I am on goes falling into the side in the camp of these people have a human right to life. Like, it really is hard for you to try and make the case that this person has a right to life, you should not kill them. It's really hard and difficult to make that not come off as appeal to emotion. But really, in the ultimate of things, I would say that it's not an appeal to emotion. I mean, if it comes off that way, us saying, oh, these people have a right to life, well then, whatever. But ultimately, it's not. That's not what it really is, an appeal to emotion anyways. It's an appeal to logical consistency. And the logical consistency being on the question of, do all people have a right to life? That is the ultimate question. I mean, if this is something that we all agree upon, the right to life, unless you are some psychotic, nihilistic fuck who wants to go on serial killings or whatever, you agree upon the right to life. For all human beings, for all innocent human beings more specifically, for anyone who hasn't like harmed another person in a considerable manner. And fetuses, they had not harmed any of the women. I mean, unless they are continuing on with the pregnancy, they are going to endanger the woman's life, in which that falls under life of other circumstances, but I digress. But ultimately, do people have a right to life? If you agree that that is a notion, if you agree in the right to life, well then the next question is, do we extend the right to life to all innocent human beings, including unborn children? Just for the sake of consistency, logical consistency on this issue. It's not appeal to emotion, it's more of an appeal to consistency on the notion of the right to life. Alright? Ben Shapiro, appeal to emotion, that's a bit of a stretch, says Mr. DJ Fly High. Yeah, precisely. Pretty much what I just said too.
Facts don't care about your feelings line, but really his feelings are showing them.
Now, he keeps on saying facts don't care about your feelings and applying that to Ben, saying that in response to what Ben is all saying here. The ultimate question that I want to pose to Progressive Voice throughout this video is, what fact is Ben Shapiro just completely dismissing because of his feelings? Or what is he saying is true based purely off of feelings instead of fact? Is there any, even at all? Keep that question in mind, y'all.
Most I've ever seen before. But anyways, with this whole Olivia Wilde thing, he does these weird cuts, and Olivia Wilde...
What do you mean weird cut? Like, it seems to be what every person doing a response does, is that they do a cut. Like, what do you mean by that? Substantiate that, Sahil. Mr. DJ Fly High says, wait, isn't this Progressive Voice guy just Chunk Uger's idiotic clone like Hubert from Futurama? I mean, pretty much. I mean, the guy who likes to talk a big tough game, calling people a bunch of names, calling them idiots and so forth, and yet he goes like basing his arguments off of the most idiotic logic of all time. Like, for example, don't you know that rights come from the state, y'all? As simple as that. So apparently, according to that logic, that would mean that the state has the right to just be killing whoever it wants, because the right to life came from them, and by extension, whatever right is given by the state can be taken away from them by the state as well, by extension. Is that something that you believe ultimately, Mr. Habibi? Sahil, Progressive Voice Habibi? No? Well then drop that whole rights come from the state line, because it's fucking stupid. Danielle Hempel says, am I the only one waiting for my wife as a doctor line from Shapiro? Well, I don't think she said, she. I don't think he says it in this specific video that Progressive Voice was responding to, but nonetheless, Someone 1000 says, I think he means it where they skip parts where it doesn't seem like they were skipping. Okay. I think he means where they skip parts where it doesn't seem like they were skipping.
Wilde never actually says anything that Ben Shapiro says. So, do I think that she is actually saying that these weird cuts, and Olivia Wilde never actually says anything that Ben Shapiro says.
You know what, maybe I should have actually pulled up the original video in order to tackle Progressive Voice on this point, but are you sure that that's not what Olivia was essentially saying? Was, should I have the right to terminate this pregnancy that I'm in the middle of? I mean, that's not to say that I think that she is actually wanting to abort her 20-some week fetus that she has inside of her or whatever. I'm just saying that almost seems to be implied, the question that she is essentially asking with the whole line of reproductive rights and so forth. Yeah, I mean, anyway.
So, do I think that she is actually saying that, I don't even know what Olivia Wilde, if she's really saying that she wants to be able to get an abortion.
And in my defense, it seems that Progressive Voice did not watch the full video himself from Olivia Wilde either. So, moving on.
A minute before having a baby, because clearly having her saying that she's going to have a baby in a minute is an exaggeration. If you didn't get that, you're retarded. Also, she didn't even explicitly state what she really stands for. She just kind of said reproductive rights, and then he putting in her mouth that she said that she wants to kill a baby. So, this is all straw manning, and I think that this is what the video is really full of here. But we're gonna get into more of his stuff.
About your future.
Okay.
Vote for it.
Okay, what I care about is not killing babies, and let me. This is going to be mildly graphic, but this is important because I'm sick of the euphemisms. Okay, it's not aborting a fetus. It's not getting rid of a.
To the credit of all pro-choicers, and really, fetus is just the term of an unborn baby after 8 weeks of conception, Ben. I mean, let's be real. Essentially, a fetus is the scientific term of unborn baby. So, well, again, let's be real. Sent1 1000 says, wait, what? The states of the USA is God? Citation needed. Yeah, precisely. I mean, he was just making a big ol' appeal to authority and appeal to the government sort of fallacy in that video, Sent1 1000. And hello, Red Feather in the chat. Sorry that I did not greet you a little bit earlier.
Ball of tissues. Ball of tissue. Okay, this is.
Oh, we're all balls of tissue, so it's ultimately a moot point, but anyway.
This, what I'm about to show you right now, is a picture of a baby. Okay, this is a baby it was a picture of a baby that was aborted by Kermit Gosnell. Okay, this is the Gosnell was somebody who was not covered by the media in any way, shape, or form. He was the most prolific serial killer probably in American history, and this was a baby girl aborted by Kermit Gosnell. And the only question was whether it was legal for him to kill this baby or not. And the only question there was how old was the baby, and was the abortion done inside the womb or outside the womb? Okay, so this baby, I believe, was after the 24.
Yeah, I would agree that is pretty arbitrary stance right there, as far as whether or not a fetus gets the right to life. Ultimately, you're just gonna judge that based purely off of physical positioning. I mean, no.
4-week cutoff, but not by much.
So look, I'm actually somebody who thinks that abortion after 21 weeks should not happen unless in case of rape or incest, or it's going to threaten the life of the mother.
Okay, so Sahil clarifying his belief, and to sort of extend on his point, I pretty much know that most, keyword most, that's not to say all, because there are some pro-choicers that I would even go so far to call them possibly even full-on pro-abort, are for late-term abortions. But most pro-choicers, like Sahil here, seem to be somewhat, I don't know, moderate, or at least not as extreme as it could get on the issue of abortion. Like they want a cutoff point, the same way like Lord of Patriarchy does, so forth. I'm gonna rewind it a few seconds.
Rape or incest, or it's going to threaten the life of the mother, because as the graphic picture you just saw, that is pretty brutal to do. But something that I find interesting is that he's all down to show these kind of pictures to sway you, to make it so that you are in favor of outlawing abortion. But if any,
at least pushing the needle towards completely outlawing abortion. Because let's be real here. It's going to take within the next few decades, abortion isn't going to be completely outlawed. And you know what? I think this is something that Ben Shapiro, quite honestly, fully acknowledges, is that within the near future, the best that we can get is capping abortion down to 10 weeks or below. We cannot outright ban it completely all the way down to the moment of conception, and for all cases, rape, incest, and convenience in all 50 states here in the United States after Roe v. Wade is overturned. I don't think Ben Shapiro thinks that. I think he acknowledges the reality that we will not get it completely banned, but he's just stating this argument just for the sake of moving the needle towards a more preferable state of affairs as far as the law goes on abortion, as opposed to where it stands right now. I say adoption should be the option if the unborn life is putting the life of the mother at risk. My opinion, of course. Well, here's the thing, Sent1000, just to clarify. Life of mother does not mean that there's a possibility that the mother will die after the baby is fully given birth and, they spend a few weeks together. The life of mother circumstance is she's going to die in the process of birthing the baby, or sometime even a little bit before birthing the baby. So, yeah. Should be the option if the unborn life is putting the life of... unless, says Sent1000. Oh, okay, my bad. He meant to say, I say adoption should be the option unless the unborn life is putting the life of the mother at risk. I think that's what he meant to say. But anyway, I'm going to rerun this again because I cannot remember my exact train of thought now.
Show these kind of pictures to sway you, to make it so that you are in favor of outlawing abortion. But if...
All right, and just to, I guess, give extra context to my point here as far as the approval, as far as... people's position on abortion goes, and him trying to convince people one way or another, or just push somebody more towards a preferable position. This is from Gallup.com. Americans' views on legality of abortion, based on 3-part question with follow-up to those saying abortion should be legal only under certain circumstances. Legal under any circumstances, that being 29%. And here's a little graph that goes showing how it has changed through the years. Legal under certain circumstances is the 50% category here. 14% of this graph says legal in most circumstances. Legal in only a few circumstances is 35%. 1% is unspecified in the, within the legal under certain circumstances category. And illegal in all circumstances, 20% in the gray area right here. If you were to combine the illegal in all circumstances with the legal in only a few circumstances, that would be 55%. That would mean that over half of this nation currently is leaning towards the idea of, restricting abortion at least. Maybe not banning it completely, but at least gradually banning it more and more anyways. But more to the point of Sahil here, there's still 29% of Americans that believe it should be legal under any circumstances. And then another 14% that say it should be legal in most circumstances. So Ben is not completely attacking a straw man here. There is that subgroup of pro-choicers who believe that abortion should be allowed for late terms as well, Sahil. You gotta acknowledge this. Come on, get real.
Anytime like someone like Piers Morgan shows kids who were killed, who were massacred in schools, and is advocating for gun control, he's doing the same thing here. That's something that's very interesting.
Oh god, where do I start with this? I really hate this false equivalence right here. The difference here is that abortion, the act in of itself of abortion, actively does kill somebody. The act of owning a gun does not in of itself kill a person. There might be a higher ability or possibility for somebody to successfully kill somebody if they own a firearm as opposed to not owning a firearm. But still, if that person is completely sane and acknowledges everybody's right to live, the ownership of a gun by that person is not going to automatically in of itself guarantee that somebody is going to die. But the act of getting an abortion, like there is no other purpose to be for abortion to be legalized other than for the sake of terminating unwanted pregnancies. Of course, there's rape and incest as well, but I have my gripes with those as well. But nonetheless, continuing on, whereas there is many purposes for the legalization of guns and the ownership of guns: resistance against a tyrannical government, defense against the common criminal, and of course hunting and sporting and all those other things. But those two are definitely most important. So yeah, and all those three things right there do not automatically harm anybody. I mean, there is a self-defense circumstance, but that goes killing not an innocent person. At most, it goes more risking killing, or at least injuring, somebody who was looking to kill somebody, in the first place. That's why that they had to self-defend in that case. But it's not, it's a false equivalency. Like, the thing with of why that Ben says that somebody like Piers goes like making appeal to motion fallacy on the debate of guns is that Piers is trying to say we need to take away your rights even though you did nothing to harm this individual. We need to take away your right to do something that does not in of itself kill anybody because of this other person's right. Whereas at the same time, the pro-gun people are not saying that, oh, those people, those school shooting victims, they did not have the right to life. Go ahead, just fuck it, let them die. In fact, in most cases, a lot of them go advocating for armed security at schools to protect these kids from armed shooters, as opposed to banning average Joe Schmo from owning a AR-15 because Parkland happened or whatever, for example. But in the case of abortion, you go executing an abortion gets legalized, and somebody gets an abortion, that is going to just automatically, inherently kill the baby. Plain and simple. I don't know, I guess there might be a more concise way to actually get this point through, but I'm just going to stick with that for right now. The frustrating thing that for me, when it comes to Progressive Voices video, is that he has an overly simplified philosophy when it comes to rights and so forth. Red Feather asks, is Ben Shapiro the only person this guy reacts to? No, he isn't. I mean, Progressive Voice has responded to Steven Crowder videos, a few anyways. Not as many as Ben Shapiro. He's responded to more Ben Shapiro than Steven Crowder videos, at least what I've seen anyways. And a whole lot more Dave Rubin videos than Steven Crowder videos. He's also made a few responses to Destiny, funnily enough. Responses to Jimmy Dore, I'm sure that there are other people that Progressive Voice has made response videos to. He goes reviewing drama that happens within the internet progressives and so forth. But anyway, Mikhail says, if you're hell-bent on murder, a truck has been proven to be very effective. Yeah, might as well ban the possession of trucks because there's a high potential to be killing somebody with that. No. Someone 1000 says, my freedoms does not end where your feelings begin. Oh, I am sorry. Wait. He retracted that message. I guess he's going to rewrite it. Anyway, continue on, though.
Baby is, let's see how old this baby is. This is a case where an abortion went awry. She went to a hospital, and the baby ended up dying at the hospital. By 24 weeks, most babies born prematurely will survive. This is a late-term abortion, okay? This is what her baby looks like in the womb. We can see that picture again. That's what that baby looks like. This is a less graphic picture of what an abortion looks like, okay? A more graphic picture of what abortion looks like involves the snipping off of the crushing of the skull, the sucking out of the brains.
So that is a late-term abortion, which many liberals don't actually advocate for. Again, Sahil. 29%, there's still that 29%. Ben is like addressing that 29%. Like maybe Ben Shapiro should be handling more with the scalpel on who he's addressing his criticism to. Like, and add the disclaimer and the annotation. Of course, not all liberals, not all leftists are for late-term abortions. But there are still the segment that are out there, so therefore that is why I'm speaking the way I am right now. Maybe he should have said that, but ultimately,
that's not the case, and he's talking overly simplistically, but you're just making a big deal about him talking in broad senses. I'm pretty sure that Ben realizes that a good chunk, at least over half of leftists and liberals, do not advocate for the allowing of late-term abortions. But anyway, I've beaten that horse too much.
But let's look at the facts here. These are 2013 reported abortions from the CDC. So the plurality, the pretty vast plurality actually, of abortions occur in less than 6 weeks or in 6 weeks. 34.6% occur in less than 6 weeks or at 6 weeks.
That still leaves a good 76%, or excuse me, not 76, 66% that Ben and his peers are going to still want to criminalize, even if Ben believed in just capping it at 6 weeks and not taking it all the way down to conception. There's still that other 66% to heal. I mean, take a look at the bigger picture of what Ben's full beliefs are. And even putting aside caps, because ultimately Ben is a whole lot stronger on his pro-life positions than I am. He wants to take the ban all the way down to the moment of conception, except for life of mother circumstances. I do firmly believe that I do think that is something that he believes in, is the life of mother's exception, along with most other pro-lifers. But most other pro-lifers in general want to take it down to 0 weeks. So the whole percentage breakdown of which moment of conception abortions happen at, of how many abortions happen at which moment of conception is almost irrelevant, taking that into consideration, Sahil. I mean, come on.
At 7 weeks, 17.9% occur. 8 weeks, 13.4% occur. 9 weeks, 8.6% occur. 10 weeks, 5.8% occur. 11 weeks, 4.
And by the way, I just want to annotate that he is, if you go looking down in the citations, which credit to Progressive Voice, he does at least provide some citations for what he's saying right here. The area that he got is statistics for as far as how many abortions happen at which moment in this country. He got it from abort73.com. Now I just want to pull up Abort73. Abort73 is a more pro-life-ish, anti-abortion-ish sort of website. Look at this. The case against abortion. Facts about abortion, bringing an end to abortion. Clearly, rhetoric that is talking about, the ultimate end goal of ending abortion, and yet Progressive Voice is using him as a source. I mean, this is ultimately not really relevant to the point of Progressive Voice, but I just want to point this out because I didn't know if people like Tim Horn or other leftists would be saying, you were citing a right-wing website, so therefore, you're stupid. Therefore, your sources are invalid, or whatever the fuck they might say. Well, I mean, even if Progressive Voice did not cite this website himself, I would still say, well, the numbers for what point abortions happen at, how many percentage of abortions happen at one point is still from the CDC ultimately. It's just I'm using Abort73 as shorthand to point you into the right direction. Even outside of that, though, Progressive Voice, does this give some credence to Abort73? You have a hardcore leftist like Progressive Voice citing them unironically for information. So I guess unless all other leftists want to pretty much call Sahil Habibi an idiot for citing Abort73, I guess Abort73 is not completely uncredible, even to leftist eyes. What's this notification? It's just my 2 cents. Anyways, so Someone 1000 says, my freedoms does not end where your feelings begins. Oh, I am sorry, did I offend you with that? Well, fuck you and walk away. Yep. Red Feather says, other than the act in and of itself, what bothers me most is the taxpayers fund Planned Parenthood and they also make a profit. You know what? I wonder what Sahil's response would be to all the pro-lifers who go saying, I don't want my tax dollars to be devoted are diverted to Planned Parenthood, an organization that does a service that I ultimately disagree with, that being abortions. I wonder what Sahil's response to that argument or that belief would be. Maybe he has a video responding to that line, and I'll have to look for it at some point, but that'll be for some other day. Michaela Stray Cat says, not gonna lie, seems to me that a crap ton of those abortions probably wouldn't have happened if more people just use protection until they're ready to have babies. Just saying. Yeah, I mean, I don't rule out protection. I don't know what exactly Ben's position is. I'm pretty sure that he doesn't want to pay for other people's protection, for other people's birth control and whatnot. I don't either. But I kind of suspect that Ben might be okay with condoms. Just saying. Well, not so much okay with them. He probably will have some argument saying that he thinks that sex outside of marriage in general, with or without a condom, is still degenerate. But legally speaking, I'm pretty sure that he's okay with them. Anyway.
0.7% occur, 12 weeks 3.6%, 13 weeks 2.8%, 14 to 15 is 3.4%, 16 through 17 1.9%.
Ben probably doesn't believe in relations before marriage, says Red Feather. No, I know for a fact that he doesn't believe in relations outside of marriage. But just saying on the whole point of how he thinks about condoms was why I was bringing up that point. Percentage of 2018 reported abortions by weeks of gestation. So you all know that I pretty much want... Did they update? It almost seems like that Abort 73 has updated their stats, because that's not what I remember the stat of being at. Huh. Or at least don't remember it being the layout anyways, because they had 6 weeks and below, and then they have had a little category that was for 7 weeks, just 7 weeks, and then they had all the other categories going after 7 weeks. But now they lumped in 7 weeks with the 8 and 9 weeks after conception point, and just added them all together to 37.5%. But let's take a guesstimation that's about 45%, maybe 50% are taken of abortions are done before the 7-week period. That's still a good half of the abortions that happen in this country that I personally would want banned. You all know my position. I believe that the cap should be at around 7 weeks of when that brainwaves are first detected. And it's just, this is the one thing that really freaking frustrates me about pro-choicers, is that they will always bring up the percentage of abortions that happen at which point of pregnancy. Oh, only so-and-so minority of them happen within the late term. So therefore, why are you going on about this subject? Because I still care about the fetuses that are only 7 weeks conceived that are still getting aborted. That's why that I'm speaking about abortion. For crying out loud. The fact that everybody goes pulling out the percentage of how many abortions happen at what point after conception is irrelevant. Let's say that even only 40%, go even lower than that actually, 30%. Let's say that even only 30% of abortions that happen nowadays are, after 7 weeks. The abortions that happen after 7 weeks make up only 30% of the total abortions within this country. Even then, I would still be speaking out against those abortions, along with all other people who believe in the 7-week cap, and all those people who believe that they should just be banned entirely, all the way down to the 0-week point of conception, that being just the moment of conception. They're still going to speak out on it. So it's just, I don't know if fallacious is the right word, but it's just nonsensical, the bringing up of this percentage. Sorry guys, but I'm gonna hop over to the 2 cent stream. Catch you guys later. We'll see you later, Mikhail. Thanks for joining. I guess Red Feather says, I guess it's the mental struggle of whether or not you can handle having a baby, but I don't understand why a woman would wait so long to have an abortion. Precisely, Red.
18 through 20 is 1.8%. 21 or less is 1.3%.
Yeah, and pro-lifers still care about all the abortions that happened before that point, Sahil. Again, you're going on about a non-point. It's a moot point that you're bringing it up.
So I can live with that, okay?
Of course you can live with that, because you're already born, motherfucker.
It's the truth is, and these are the real numbers. 89 through 92% of abortions happening during the first trimester. That's prior to the 13th week. So
what? So the fuck what? So fucking what, progressive voice? Even pro-lifers like me who want those 7 to 13 week fetuses banned, who just wants it capped at 7 weeks. There's still a wide spanning amount of abortions that happen between the 7 and 13 week, time frame. Yeah, I still want those gotten rid of. I don't put the cap down to just the first week. Ben Shapiro doesn't put the cap down to just the first trimester. Excuse me, I said first week earlier. I meant first trimester. Hardly no pro-lifer at all just stops at the end of the first trimester. As far as when the cap should be at, Sahil, get your head out of your ass. Come on.
Even most of the rest of that happens in the second trimester, and I think that there should be a cutoff after 21 weeks, because once you have after 21 weeks, so here's the actual facts of it, okay? All of those abortions that occur, the pictures that you see that Ben Shapiro is showing don't exist. You want to know why? It's because they don't do that in early abortions.
Not in a majority of cases, but it's still worthy of responding to, because there are those who want to advocate for a later point of capping it, or even just allowing abortion entirely. Pro-choicers, I mean. JC says, yeah, same as Mikkel, I'll be doing the same thing as well. We'll see you later, JC. Thanks for tuning in. Red Feather says, and how many abortions are done per year? 1.8% is still a lot of babies. Yeah, it's the amount of babies that get aborted within that 2%. That is still like tens of thousands, or maybe even getting close to 100,000 of babies that end up getting aborted per year. That is well above the amount of self-induced illegal abortions that were done before Roe v. Wade, that being like around 300 or 2,000 at most. It's not even comparable. Well, I guess it could be comparable, but it's still, that number is still dwarfed by even the 2% of abortions that happen in this country. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. Precisely.
Happened prior to 21 weeks. So what they do is you take a pill, and then the doctor basically gets like this suction thing and just sucks everything out. So that doesn't happen. That kind of brutality that you see does not occur. The only time that occurs is in late-term abortions, which a lot of the liberals are against, honestly.
Well, take a look at this. There are still those that end up ultimately happen after 13 weeks. 3.2%, 1.9%, 1.8%, and 1%. 14 weeks and onward, as far as the 4 different time frames that Abort 73 provides here.
It involves, and these are fully formed children. These are fully formed children. I have 2 beautiful children. The idea that you get to murder a kid.
Yeah, no, those are not, the vast majority of abortions are not when they're fully formed children, because they don't even have nervous systems fully functioning or anything like that at all. And that's such strawman. I just told you, the vast plurality.
He's not saying that most liberals or most leftists want to advocate for late-term abortions, but there's still those who do exist, so that is why that he is on this tangent. Ben is, So no real strawman right there. You are correct to call out his strawman for saying that essentially Olivia Wilde wants to get an abortion on her child that she was pregnant with at the time, but you're not right at this point that you're saying that Ben Shapiro is lying. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. Precisely. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Feather. 21 weeks is almost 6 months, says Red Fe
6 weeks or before, and even 7 weeks is a huge number, and 8 weeks, it's a very, very small percent that happen after that, and it's 89 through 92% happen prior to 13 weeks, man. So you're committing a...
So what? So the fuck what? So... maybe Ben should be like redirecting his criticism and his argumentation to, beforehand. But he has ultimately gone on about earlier pregnancies, like within the 7 to 13 week period before. He's done that on specials that he's done on Fox. He's done this at multiple rallies, or at least the one March for Life rally, anyways. He's not doing it in this video, but he has done it in plenty of other videos, and yeah, anyway.
A straw man out of the vast majority of abortions, literally, they're not fully formed human beings, you fucking liar. And also,
what is he lying? He was referring to late-term fetuses when he was saying fully formed human beings. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna call him a liar over that? Like, come on. I mean, even if you want to say that a late-term fetus is not fully formed, Sahil, well, guess what? If you want to get extra pedantic on that front, a fresh newborn is not fully developed either. Heck, a 1-year-old is not fully developed either. A person is not fully developed until about 25 years of age, when their brain is fully developed and they've gone through pretty much all of their puberty, or just completely gone through puberty and so on and so forth. That is when that full development happens. I mean, if you want to get so fucking pedantic about this, but when he was saying fully formed, he was not meaning it literally, Sahil. You're just being like overly uncharitable here. And I know that you're probably going to bring up, but Ben was being uncharitable to Olivia Wilde. Well, then fine, fair enough. But ultimately, Ben, he was not meaning literally fully formed. He was meaning mostly to all formed at the late week point. And because he was referring to the late term point and not any earlier point than that, I don't see what you're calling him a fucking liar for. You're just being a fucking asshole right now, Sahil, with your flagrant throwing around of the accusation of liar.
I hate this argument that, Ben Shapiro goes, he says, he's like, I have 2 beautiful kids. I couldn't have imagined aborting them. Yeah, dumbass, you can't imagine aborting them because they're fully functioning human beings who are already alive. If they weren't alive, you wouldn't know who they are, and therefore you wouldn't be able to say, holy shit, imagine if I had aborted these people. That is a false argument and just total outright lie.
How is it a false argument? He is just going on of how he is glad. Oh, God. Even like before ever getting acquainted to them, when they were still in his own wife's stomach, he still has compassion for the children that they were even back then. Not as much as now, because there is that social development that he had with his kids. But I don't see as to how your response is a substantive response. Really. I mean, yeah, you can say that he's like making an appeal to emotion right now, but again, it's hard to avoid appeal to emotion when you're talking about human life in general. I'm not so sure of how that Ben could have went about that point right there in any better way.
You can't. This is often something that's said. People say, "Oh man, imagine if you didn't have this." It's like, yeah, I wouldn't know about that or what it is, so I wouldn't care. But this is just another one of their, emotional.
You do realize that there are some mothers who ultimately regret their abortions, even though they did not get to know their own child within their own womb, right? You do know that those exist, correct? Like, just because that a person was unable to have any emotional attachment to somebody that they could not see does not mean that other people out there did not, other people who did ultimately have that emotional attachment did not have the emotional detachment in spite of, not having any actual interaction with that child outside of them being inside the stomach.
Arguments, and they don't care about the facts.
Okay. Again, what non-factual thing has been said throughout this whole thing? The closest that it's got is that you go saying that he's strawmanning by saying that Olivia Wilde wants to get an abortion. Fair enough. Yeah, that's not a fact. Olivia Wilde was not saying explicitly, I definitely do want to get an abortion. That was not factual right there on Ben's part. And the other thing that it closest gets to what Ben has said that is not factual is the whole, liberals and leftists are not for late-term abortions. When really, oh god. Ben was not saying that the overall vast majority of leftists are for late-term abortions. I mean, if he did say that, then you'd have more of a point of how he's being non-factual at that point. But he did not say that, so therefore, he wasn't being non-factual. Again, the only non-factual thing he said was saying of what Olivia Wilde's position or what she wants to do about her own child.
No one has a right to choose that picture. Go back to the other one. No one has a right to choose this. No one. No one has a right to choose this. You don't have a right to choose this, okay? That's a baby. You don't get to kill it just because it's convenient to you. You don't have a right to say, it's my decision where and when and how to have the baby.
I think that there should be no late-term abortions unless there is a case of rape or incest or the woman's life is in danger for sure. So,
okay. Well, aside from rape and incest, so you are in agreement with Ben on that point. Congrats.
That won't happen, but you're strawmanning yet again because, like I said, the vast majority happen between 13 weeks, and literally a vast...
So, he still wants to take it down to below 13 weeks. I feel like I'm repeating myself, and I'd be just repeating myself again if I was to say to him that, again, Ben was not saying that the vast majority of leftists want late-term abortions to be allowed, but there's still the minority of leftists and just people in America in general who want to allow abortion at all points.
Plurality happens at 6 weeks or before, which is so early. Guys, these are the facts, okay? At 6 weeks... it's literally it's not even a fetus yet. It's called a zygote.
And Ben wasn't saying otherwise. Ben was not saying otherwise. Let's take this by the numbers, people.
It's not even a fetus yet. And the phrase...
technically, yes. 6 weeks, they're not technically a fetus. Even at 7 weeks, the moment that I want to cap abortion, the unborn baby that I'm just going to, use a layman's term for, they're not technically a fetus, but all the same, it doesn't really matter. And, Ben was not denying that.
Framing of this, and this is something that Republicans love to do actually, and I noticed this with the estate tax because I saw Mick Mulvaney calling it the death tax, even though the official title of it is the estate tax. They want to trick you, okay? It is not killing a baby because it's still a fucking fetus, and those are the facts.
It's killing a person just in general. And again, Ben was referring to late terms, and even like on multiple other occasions referred to fetuses at 10 weeks, in between 10 and 21 weeks, and even between 7 and 13 weeks. All those unborn babies. Yes, those are essentially unborn babies. Okay, the earliest point that I have read that is considered to be a fetus is 8 weeks. An 8 weeks conceived human being inside the womb is considered a fetus at that point. And as I said earlier, fetus is just the scientific term for unborn baby. An unborn human baby specifically in this case. And just all these abortions that Ben is against, 8 weeks and beyond. No, they are in fact unborn babies, Sahil. He's not being non-factual. If anything, you're the one who's being non-factual right now.
I thought you said that facts don't give a shit about your fucking feelings. You're
yeah, and he's not saying anything non-factual, you dipshit.
Fucking lying, because the facts are...
Oh, no. Yeah, he was lying. He was totally lying. And what lie was he speaking, Sahil? What is he saying opposite of the truth? He's not making an appeal to emotion. He's not saying, oh, I feel that this 10-week or even this 21-week, I feel that this 21-week fetus, unborn baby or whatever, is in fact an unborn baby. No, it's a fact. By definition, by textbook definition, is in fact was an unborn baby, and now it was on the hospital bed in the case of Kermit Gosnell there that he was referencing a little bit earlier. He's not saying, oh, I feel that these are babies. No, he's knowing by textbook fact that they are in fact an unborn baby.
That is a fetus. It is not a baby, no matter what.
Fetus is scientific term for an unborn baby. Do you not know the fucking definition, asshole?
Your feelings are
like this, okay? Show the other image.
Oh, I'm sorry. I chuckled right there mostly because of the weird ass cut. It sounded like that he was about to say fuck your feelings and something else, but then he just did a weird ass cut right there back to the video that he's responding to. Sahil did. Let's watch that again.
You said that facts don't give a shit about your fucking feelings. You're fucking lying, because the facts are that is a fetus. It is not a baby.
The fact of the matter is fetuses are baby by fucking definition, idiot.
No matter what your feelings are.
Like this, okay? Show the other.
I don't know why, but that weird ass cut just tickles me every single time. No matter what your feelings are. But again, he was not saying that, oh, these are based off of my oh, God. This fucking frustrates me. The botching of the term of facts don't care about your feelings. I hate of how much that term has been botched to almost nothingness. And in the case of, like, somebody goes stating an opinion, like in the case of Tim Horn and what he defines to be a conservative or whatever. He thinks that what he defines to be a conservative is fact, objective fact, and it's inarguable, and facts don't care about your feelings. When really, he wasn't speaking, okay, I would have to go back to the video to know the specifics of what it is, but ultimately, no, he was not speaking fact right then and there. He was speaking his own opinion on the definition of conservative and whatever. But no, he was just passing it off as fact, and therefore just douchingly and arrogantly saying facts don't care about your feelings. Don't argue with me and blah, 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 blah. That's one example of the botching of facts don't care about your feelings. And then you got Owen Cunt Donald in a debate with Incredible Aspie 3 years ago. Heck, might even be 3.5 years ago, saying that, like you said, facts over feelings, and the fact of the matter is that people can feel however they want to feel. Essentially, basing facts off of feelings. People will be passing off their opinions as facts and say facts don't care about your feelings, and then other people will say facts don't care about your feelings, and the facts are based off of feelings. And now in this case, you have Sahil botching the facts don't care about your feelings, saying, turning it on Ben Shapiro, just because he gets emotionally passionate and invested, and goes essentially insinuating that Ben is basing facts off of his feelings, when really he did not do any sort of thing. Ben did not base any facts off of his own feelings. Again, the worst that it gets is what he said about Olivia Wilde supposedly wanting to get an abortion. But aside from that, no. Okay. So I got some catching up on the chat to do before I continue on any further. Really, I need to make a video sometime talking about the saying of facts don't care about your feelings, and what I think that the saying actually means, and display examples as to how this saying has gotten botched and aborted, so to speak. Pregnancy, Red Feather says in the chat, pregnancy is ideally 40 weeks, and with the technology we have now, they are seeing babies that mothers had issues carrying at 21 weeks. It's amazing. Precisely. Well, I wonder what this guy's parents think of his stance. Does he not have siblings or cousins he's seen grown up? I don't know. I mean, you know, honestly, Sahil Habibi, a good portion of the time in his videos, like, this is just an opinion of mine. Like, I'm not saying this as fact or anything, but he comes off a good portion of the time like he was raised as an only child. I mean, that's totally irrelevant to the to the basis of this video right here and my response to him, but kind of addressing the chat here of what Red Feather said. Progressive voice Sahil, he does sometimes come off as an only child, like he was raised as an only child. Red Feather also says, and Invisible's hand says the facts trademark, right? Red Feather says, when Ben said he has 2 beautiful kids, that seemed to trigger this guy. I don't know, maybe. And you know, that's another thing about the whole facts don't care about your feelings. The most that Ben is doing right here is getting passionately, emotionally invested into the issue. That's the most feelings based that this whole video gets right here, really. And you know what? I find it kind of ironic that Sahil goes pointing that out, or implying to point it out anyways. And yet at the same time, he gets kind of emotionally invested himself. Sahil does get kind of pissy and angry and so forth. So are you also putting feelings over facts, Sahil, when you get angry and emotionally invested? If not, well then shut the fuck up. Especially with rape and incest, why wait so long? Asks Red Feather. Right. Zygote versus fetus versus fully developed baby is just a way they justify abortion. Precisely, Red Feather. They just go mixing the terms up to justify their rhetoric. Does a tadpole not develop into a frog? Precisely, Red Feather. Red Feather says, that is what they say, though. My feelings don't care about your facts. I mean, to be fair, I don't think I've ever heard Sahil essentially say something based purely off of feelings and pass it off as fact or whatever. Just in his defense.
Image. The game goes like this. At which point should you be able to kill this baby? Okay, we're going to play a game called When Should You Be Able to Kill This Baby? Because I've been told by people like Hillary Clinton that you're able to kill this baby all the way up to the very end, right? 32 to 30 weeks, right? And that's when the baby is fully...
All right. And so Ben goes pointing out an example of a liberal, Hillary Clinton saying that even late term should be allowed. So Ben is responding to those people specifically. He is not projecting upon all of the left. He's just... He's addressing the more fringe sides of the pro-choice community. People like Hillary Clinton.
Formed, it can be born alive. It is a fully formed human being. I've watched 2 of them come out of my wife. These are human beings.
And he's not even saying that late-term abortions are currently allowed, or at least back here in 2016. This video that Ben Shapiro is doing, this took place in 2016. Keep that in mind, folks. He's not even saying that the law was back then or even now or whatever, that late-term abortions are full-on allowed here in the United States. He's just addressing the advocacy from other pro-choicers. Perspicacity, is that, did I pronounce it right? Perspicacity says, how are you breathing in that getup? Well, it's a thin SA gear face mask. That is pretty much how. Anyway, I mean, eventually I am going to take it off so I can, drink my Monster, but I'm going to try to save that for after I get done with responding to Sahil here.
These are not balls of tissue. These are not clusters of cells. And I'm sick of being told that it's just an abortion. I don't like the euphemism.
Yeah, like the SA gear face masks, they're a whole lot more breathable than the typical surgical masks that almost everyone else wears nowadays in the coronavirus world. If you can't tell, by the way, people, I am a major SA gear face shield shill.
It's not a termination of a pregnancy. It's a termination of a human life. Okay, it's a murder of a human being when you're talking about these babies, and this idea that you get to choose that Look, you got to choose a lot of things in life. You don't get to choose another human being's death. That's not something you get to choose. So when is it okay to kill this? When is it okay to kill this? Is it okay to kill this thing at week 14? When the heart is pumping several quarts of blood through the body every day? How about week 15 when the baby has an adult's taste buds? How about month 4 when the bone marrow is beginning to form? How about that? Or how about weeks 9 and 10 when the baby's teeth are already beginning to form? Its fingernails are already beginning to develop. We're talking about 2 months old, right? The baby can turn the head and frown. The baby can...
So this is kind of, you know what, I just noticed this right now. I most of the time listen to Ben Shapiro. I don't watch Ben Shapiro when I go like listen to his podcast and whatnot. It looks like that he is like looking up onto a screen that is displaying this, another screen in front of him that is displaying this, where he's just reading that off. And you know, it's kind of uncanny. It's kind of uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. But body language aside,
can hiccup. Is that okay to kill? How about week 4? By the end of the week 4, the kid is already 10,000 times larger than the fertilized eggs was. There's already the beginnings of eyes and legs and hands. There are already brain waves detectable. Mouth and lips are present. Fingernails are forming.
All right, before going on any further, Invisible Hand says, drinking Monster like a 30-year-old boomer. Cringe, Invisible Hand. Red Feather says, you should get sponsored, LOL. Yeah, you know what, if I was to like get sponsored, I'd probably be streaming more often. Heck, I'd probably like try to make it so that I can like you know, work less hours at my full-time job, even if I was to get sponsored or whatever. But unfortunately, we don't live in fantasy realm of where that I can be like a full-time or even like an officially part-time live streamer. Also, speaking of sponsors, and I feel bad that I haven't announced this at the beginning of the live stream, but this live stream is sponsored in part by patrons like you. The current patrons that I have right now are Mikhail the Stray Cat, Cat Chat, Mikhail the Stray Cat who was on earlier, and then the Conundrum. Those are my 3 current patrons. If you would like to care to become a patron yourself, the link for my Patreon is down below in the description box, and there are some bonuses that I'll give out to those who become a patron, including an invite to my Discord service, or to my Discord server, becoming a moderator of the live chat, possibly becoming a moderator within my Discord server, and also get to choose or recommend articles and videos that I should respond to here on Strikeforce News. Anyway.
How about week 3? By the end of the 3rd week, the kid's backbone and spinal column and nervous system are forming. The liver and kidneys and intestines are beginning to take shape. How about day 22? The heart's already beating with the child's blood, which may be of a different blood type than the mother. So where...
He straight up stopped going in order. He went from 4 weeks to 22 days, etc., etc.
Irrelevant.
Just those little things forming really have nothing to do with it. The truth of the matter is that before, like I said, 89 through 92% of abortions happen before 13 weeks, which is a massive majority. And a vast, like I said, plurality happen before 6 weeks and at 6 weeks. When it's literally still a zygote. It's not even a fetus yet until 7 weeks. Actually, it's not even a fetus yet until 9 weeks. But
8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. Those are the 3 different time points that I have read, you know, from multiple different definitions of when it becomes a fetus, or an unborn baby. But it's neither here nor there. Doesn't really matter.
You know, he's asking me the question, when should you be able to terminate the pregnancy? You should be able to terminate the pregnancy anytime before 21 weeks. After that, you can't have a late-term abortion.
Anytime before 21 weeks. Why is that, Sahil? I mean, that's where that you and Ben seems to be more in conflict with. And really, in other videos, not in specifically this one, he goes responding to essentially the beliefs that you and your peers withhold. But anyway, I mean, why should abortions be allowed at that point? I mean, does a 9-week fetus not have the right to life? I mean, even if the mother ended up drunkenly forgetting birth control, and the dude drunkenly forgot the condom, nobody took birth control, and they just drunkenly went ahead and have sex, and they mistakenly got a pregnancy going, is that really the baby's own fault that they ended up in that circumstance, that the couple ended up, procreating a child? Is it really the child's fault that they forgot their shit because they were drunk? No. I mean, if it's not their fault, then what are they responsible for that they should just be allowed to be killed by the parents? I mean, I do not... Bodily autonomy does not trump right to life. No rights should trump any other rights unless somebody did something to maliciously violate that right. In the fetus's case, they did not intentionally end up inside the mother. They did not do anything malicious to the mother to end up inside there. They were more like put inside there by the dude that she consensually had sex with. They were both drunk, but all the same, within my scenario, it was still ultimately consensual.
Less in cases of rape or
much less was it the fault of the baby.
Incest or the mother's life being in danger.
Okay, he believes in the incest exception. Let's re-listen to that.
After that, you can't have a late-term abortion unless in cases of rape or incest or the mother's life being in danger.
Life of mother, completely acceptable. Rape, the rape wasn't the baby's fault either, but then somebody's going to bring up the violinist argument to me, in which I'm going to have to still find out a more articulate response to all the people that want to apply the violinist argument to the rape exception or whatever. But he also mentions incest. Like, answer me this question, Sahil, or a pro-choicer out there. Any pro-choicer or even full-on pro-abortionist that goes watching this live stream at this point at 1 hour and 15 minutes. Like, I'm taking a damn long time responding to this video. But to any pro-choicer out there, should we be allowed to kill inbreds outside of the womb? Like, that is the only logic that I could see as to how that killing a person inside the womb would be acceptable, is if it's allowed also outside of the womb. Like, I even posed this question to Tim Horn. Like, I did not actually ask the question, but I said, unless we are going to say that it's okay to kill inbreds even outside of the womb, I do not see why there should be that. I do not see as to why that inbreeding or incest should be like an exception to kill them inside the womb. Like, yeah, and he just had no response to it. Tim Horn had no response. All he did was just say, oh, this guy thinks that incest is not an exception. Fucking moron. That's it. No argument. Just a fucking insult was all. But in all seriousness, without just responding with just plainly and only an insult, why is incest such a fucking exception? Like, oh god. A bit of an awkward circumstance, but hey, presuming that it does happen, and I think it's safe to say that it does happen, there is consensual inbred sex that goes on within this country, sickeningly enough. But the rape did not happen in that case, and life of mother is not going to happen in that case either, in this rhetorical that I'm talking about. Why is it that incest is such an exception, such a special exception that we should make on abortion? I don't get it. Again, is it all right for us to kill inbreds outside of the womb if it's okay to kill them inside of the womb? That's my ultimate question to all the pro-incest exception people out there.
I mean, it's so simple. Remember how I told you 89 through 92% of abortions happen before 13 weeks? Well, at 13 weeks, the baby, the fetus, is literally 3 inches long. It's about the size of a pea pod.
And somebody said, well,
so the fuck what? So fucking what, Sahil? I mean, size does not determine, the size does not have any considerable bearing on our belief on the right to life. It should not have a bearing on anyone's belief in the right to life. Like, if a person, theoretically speaking, got born to the size of this freaking knife right here, I mean, is that at all possible? Like, say a fucking midget gave birth to a human being that was even smaller than they were, that only, becomes like this size, essentially. Do they ultimately get a less of a right to life than a full-born baby? just because of how small they are? Again, this is a nonsensical argument that I don't get either. Why should size be such a bearing on when and where we consider the right to life to apply, Sahil? Seriously.
Well, the brainwaves only start at week 20. So how about that? You know, do you think that people who are brain dead are alive? Well,
Wait, rewind.
20. So how about that? You know, do you...
Pause.
And somebody said, well, the brainwaves only start at week 20. So how about that? You know, do you think that people who are brain dead are alive? Well, people who...
Okay. Ben is wrong. This is not my pro-choice side speaking out against Ben saying that he's wrong. This is my pro-life side speaking out against Ben saying that he's wrong. Because really, the when that brainwaves are detected is much earlier than 20 weeks, Ben. It's at 6.5 weeks. Like, I thought you would have known that little factoid. But maybe he knows that little factoid right now. But this is 4 years ago. Even in 2016, I thought he would have at least known that little factoid. But yeah, it begins even before then. And Ben is going to like bring forth the logic in case of brain death and whatnot. And me personally, I cannot make a legal argument to say that, this person without any brain waves is in fact a person, so therefore they get the right to life. I don't really see that being the case in my point of view, but let's move on.
who are brain dead don't turn into not brain dead 3 weeks later. Would you kill somebody in a coma because they're brain dead, but you know they're not going to be brain dead in 4 weeks, in 10 weeks?
Well, here's the thing, Ben. Ultimately the reasoning as to why that I think a lack of brain waves, that a person still has the right to life in spite of a lack of brain waves. Of being brain dead, the determination of whether or not you get to pull the plug on that person that is on life support falls on the next of kin. That person who's brain dead on the hospital bed falls on the next of kin. That's how it typically works here in the Western world, and I don't look to change that little aspect of life and ethics within the Western world. I mean, do you seek to change it, Ben? Do you seek to make it illegal for the next of kin to say, yeah, pull the plug, we have waited long enough for them to try to wake up out of their brain death situation? Like, yeah, just saying, Ben.
Would you do that? Would you pull the plug on him, knowing for a full-on fact that if you just wait a few weeks, that person's going to be fully functional again? Would you do that?
I mean, question, how do we know for certain that they are going to wake up out of it? I mean, if anybody, like, has a paper that goes showing as to what percentage of the time in brain death cases we know for a certain fact that that person is, in fact, going to wake up out of it, well, then go ahead, provide me the literature in the Discord server, put it in citation needed or Strikeforce News or whatever, or even link it down in the description box below here or in the live chat in the side here. Either way, just like link me that literature. But anyway.
Oh man, this really is so stupid. Are you really gonna compare being brain dead after being alive and being in a coma, a medical condition, to being fucking earlier than 20 weeks in as a fetus? You're not even a human being? Are you out of your mind?
Got totally triggered going towards the end there. And you know, the stupidest cherry on top of this whole shit cake here, that being Progressive Voice's response video, is that at the end there he says, before 20 weeks you're not even a human being. Let's listen to that again.
After being alive and being in a coma, a medical condition, to being fucking earlier than 20 weeks in as a fetus? You're not even a human being? Are you out of your mind?
Citation needed. Like, where is the fucking biology book that you have read to say that they aren't a human being, Sahil? I mean, what species are they then? I mean, if a fetus before the 20-week period is not a human being, what species are they then? Tell me, seriously, what species are they? I could not get him, I could not get even Owen Donald to answer this question with a fucking straight face. He could not answer it. You want to know why he could not answer it? And I don't think that Sahil could answer this question either. What species are they? Like, You know why that Owen could not answer it right then, and why Progressive Voice would likely not be able to answer it now? Because they all know for a fucking fact that these are human beings. I mean, whether or not you want to consider them persons deserving of the right to life, that's a different subject on the side there. But this is just outright fucking biology denial. If you go literally, unironically saying that an unborn baby, a fetus inside a human mother, is not a human being, you are just fucking stupid. Honestly. And just full-on denial of biology. I'm sorry. Well, okay. To be a little bit more charitable, maybe you're not stupid. You're definitely at least ignorant. You're like dipping your pinky toe into the pool of the debate of politics, or the battleground of politics, if you literally think that. And you really need to read more if you literally think that they're not human beings. Here's the thing. According to Princeton University, they are in fact human beings. At the moment of conception, they are individual human beings, these unborn babies. And even War Corpse, aka the Lord of Patriarchy, when I got asking him this question as well, of, what if they're not human, what species are they? I mean, he could not answer that question either. Well, actually, no, I don't know if I don't think it's the human question that he was really denying. I think it was the whole brain existence question that he was denying. Yeah, it was the brain existence. I don't think he was denying the species of an unborn human baby, but he was denying the existence of a brain within an unborn human baby. Even when he got saying, according to John Hopkins, even John Hopkins actually goes agreeing with me, or goes backing up my belief that they, in fact, do have a brain at 7 weeks and onward, these unborn babies. But the whole human aspect of them, what species are they? Again, according to Princeton University, they are in fact human. What's this notification? Alright, I'm gonna... I think that's, it's, one of my, just a notification for, anyway, I'm getting distracted. Reading up the chat here a bit. Red Feather says, that's because of the way they calculate your due date. What are you saying in that regard, Red Feather? What point were you responding to within that live chat comment? Taking off this mask. Killing developed babies in the womb is a satanic ritual. I wouldn't argue against that, Red. I'm not really going to argue against that. But to all the pro-choicers out there, I'm not going to fully agree with that either. I'm not going to agree or disagree with what Red said there. I mean, I'm not going to make that a basis in my argumentation with pro-choicers. Just FYI. Invisible Hand says, I'm gonna get going. Catch you later. Well, thanks for watching the response segment of this stream, Invisible Hand. Primitive Cash says, for real, why punish the baby for the evils done by the parents? Precisely, Cash. Red Feather says, he's probably the first to tell girls size doesn't matter. Sorry. Red. Wow. Oh, such a fucking burn. Well, actually, to clarify, Red, I'm the one who says that size doesn't matter as far as when to determine the right to life for all these babies. So, but I think I get what you're trying to say there. I mean, you're trying to make a small dick joke at Sahil's expense, but I think you just inadvertently made a small dick size joke on me. But anyway, or maybe that was the intent. In which case, Red Feather, fuck you. I love you, but fuck you, Red Feather. Red Feather also says, how many weeks old the babies are when their brains develop? 6.5 weeks. That's when I've always researched it. See Invisible Hand, take care. Alright. So moving on. Oh boy, how long is this article? It's already late in the day. So this is the end of the response to Sahil Habibi. I was talking about the guy. You talking about Sahil Red Feather? Okay. Well, anyway. This is from Washington Post. So y'all have heard about HR 1, haven't you? I'm a little bit late in the game, but still I'm reading this for my own sake because I do not know what exactly HR 1 is all about. I've been told vaguely of what it's all about, and it's about federalizing voting rights, essentially. Federalizing voting law, and even getting rid of some other laws, voting laws that they want to get, be done with. But, anyway, just from the Washington Post, the left-leaning website, let's get into this. The reason why I am, reading from a left-leaning website is because if Washington Post says something that is not so much against HR 1, well, then it'll just get better from there, right? As far as what narrative or information I'm being told about this. But for the record, I know that for a fact, Washington Post is not very credible in the ultimatum of things. Be it with their examples of slander and lies and so forth against Ben Shapiro and Nick Sandman and so on and so forth. But anyway, here's what HR 1, the House passed voting rights bill, would do. House Democrats passed a comprehensive voting, elections, and ethics bill on Wednesday, part of what they say in an urgent effort to fight Republican efforts in states across the country to restrict ballot access. What kind of ballot access are you meaning? So that anybody, including illegal immigrants, can vote in elections? Make it easier for possibly them to vote? I mean, in what ways do you think that they are getting overly strict? If passed, the bill would mark a huge expansion of voting rights and a major overhaul of campaign finance and redistricting laws. Republicans say they want to stop it in the Senate. So, reading the chat a little bit. Oh, Red Feather says, because he was saying size matters. LOL. Okay. Primitive Cash says Zahil does sound like the sort of guy who has 3 inches to his erect dick. Oh god. Chat, you amuse me. Republicans at the state level across the country have proposed a wide range of measures, many in response to allowances that were made for voting during the coronavirus pandemic in 2020. The measures include curtailing eligibility to vote by mail, prohibiting the use of ballot drop boxes, and in the case of Georgia, where the GOP lost 2 Senate seats and which voted for a Democratic president for the first time since Bill Clinton's 1992, when blocking early voting on Sundays. Okay. As far as mail-in ballot goes, I don't have any evidence as to what high percentage or whatever of the mail-in ballots were fraudulent this last go-around. But as reported by Real Clear Politics, like we've read a few months ago, actually, there is still a higher percentage potential for mail-in ballots to be frauded than for in-person ballots to be frauded. That particular measure has been called a flagrant and obvious attempt to disenfranchise black voters in the state. The chairman of Georgia's new... what is so special about black people that they need mail-in ballots? Don't they have as much ability as white people to go participating in person to the election booth? I'm just asking, just saying. They have a working pair of legs at least, and most of them still have a car as much as white people do. So I don't get what you're saying here, Washpo. And hello there, Norse Dinosaur in the chat. Red Feather says, so they want to cheat more. Shocking. Kind of would almost seem that way. The chairman of Georgia's new House Special Committee on Election Integrity, State Representative Barry Fleming, Republican, said his committee's mission is to restore the confidence of our public in our election system. an allusion to the false claims spread by former President Donald Trump about voter fraud in the 2020 election. Too much confidence in the voting system. GOP officials in Arizona, Florida, Texas, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, all states that could have an impact on future presidential elections, are also considering legislation that would restrict voting. That's why Democrats are moving forward with their bill at the national level, and while it might not pass in the Senate, they want to put pressure on Republicans who have called it a political power grab. I mean, isn't it? It kind of seems that way. I mean, it would at least theoretically advantage Democrats over Republicans if this was to be passed through. I mean, you have very little evidence to say otherwise on that front. I mean, sure, you can go ahead and say my intentions are virtuous. I am just looking to protect voter, integrity or whatever. But people can be kind of suspicious about your intentions nonetheless. It is not designed to protect Americans' vote. It is designed to put a thumb on the scale in every election in America so that Democrats can turn a temporary majority into permanent control, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, a Republican in California, said Tuesday. Here's what the bill actually contains. A set of national voter registration and mail-in voting standards. H.R. 1 requires the chief election official in each state, the Secretary of State, and most to establish an automatic voter registration system that gathers individuals' information from government databases and registers them unless they intentionally opt out. Is it expensive to keep information? Because if so, well then why should people keep on automatically re-registering people who might not even be updating their vote registry, and let alone actively participating in the voting process? I mean, why should resources be spent on people who are not interested in voting? Red Feather says, remember, they don't know where the DMV is or how to get a state ID. Oh, God. Red Feather. Red Feather is trolling, by the way, I'm sure, people. But, well, actually, there is a little bit of a point there because I do not know the specific examples, but there are some Democrats who do go saying around that it's harder for black people to do than white people to do. To get to the DMV, etc. Which I would agree with what Red is kind of implying, that it is bullshit. Hey, Norse Dinosaur. Hi, Red Feather. Primitive Cash says, minimum voting age should be 70 in my opinion, and minimum age for political office should be 140. Well, Norse Dinosaur says, this is my first time in live chat. Well, welcome to the show, Norse Dinosaur. And Red Feather says, welcome, Norse. Chat is silly while Darkcon is serious. Well, yeah, I try to play along with the live chat sometimes, but most of the time when I'm sarcastic, I will immediately say, nah, JK, or whatever. Anyway, and it says it's the government's responsibility to keep that information up to date. Well, it's kind of hard for the government to keep people up to date if they are not helping them up to dating of when that they are, moving from one house to another, from one voting district to another. I mean, what is the government to do at that point? Should the government put a tracking device on that person when they when they go moving from one district to another, so as to help keep up to date on what is the proper address of that registered voter? No. I mean, if a person is so passionate on wanting to vote, they should update their own shit, honestly. You're welcome, Norse Dinosaur. Based on information from agencies like state motor vehicle administrations, agencies that receive money from Social Security or the Affordable Care Act, the justice system, and federal agencies including the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Defense, the Social Security Administration, and others. Oh, excuse me. The law would also guarantee voters same-day registration either at early voting sites or at precincts on election day. Each state would be required to allow at least 15 days of early voting for federal elections. for at least 10 hours a day, with at least sometime before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m. The law would limit how states can purge voter rolls. Nonpartisan redistricting commissions. Nonpartisan. You know what? Honestly, nonpartisan is a little bit of a buzzword. It's a term that is damn well abused too much of the time. I'll just put it that way for right now. Nonpartisan redistricting commissions. In an attempt to get rid of gerrymandering, the law would require each state to use independent commissions not made up of lawmakers to approve newly drawn congressional districts. The commissions would each include 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 5 independents, requiring bipartisan approval for districts to be allowed. I mean, if you're going to be doing that, shouldn't you go the next step further and just say, I don't know, and just go saying that there is no gerrymandering allowed, that these are going to be the districts for all time? I don't know. I mean, let's be honest here. Not all Democrats, not all Republicans, and not all independents are of different beliefs from each other. A good portion of the time, there's a lot of overlap between beliefs. Like Joe Manchin, for example, is almost, people say that Joe Biden is supposedly Republican light, but I would say that Joe Manchin is like a whole lot closer of an example of somebody who is essentially Republican light. But ultimately, if somebody like him, for example, was on this board, that would, in belief sense, be 6 Republicans, 4 Democrats, and 5 independents. And that's not including whether or not one of those independents is going to be like Bernie Sanders, who is a self-registered independent, but he still caucuses with Democrats most of the time. So in practicality, it would be 5 Democrats, 6 Republicans, and 4 independents. Within that little scenario that I put out right there. So the idea of there being a commission of people to set up these the districts and whatnot, it just still seems to have the same potential for gerrymandering as beforehand. Just you're going to muck up the waters a little bit more with putting this strict 5 of this party, 5 of that party, and 5 of this other party on these boards. Toasted Network says that only people that agree with me should be able to vote. Ha 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 ha. Hello, Toast. Nice for you to tune in. Primitive Cash says, damn, wish I was that lucky. That would have made for more ballots for me to burn. I mean, yeah, more firewood, I guess. Regardless of whether it's a red state or blue state, we are seeing significant manipulation. And by the way, I just want to say for the record, I do not know what my own personal position would be on gerrymandering, of how I feel about it fully. But just with the precedent, the principle that they are essentially going for right here within this paragraph of the Washington Post, why not just take it a step further and say no redistricting allowed at all? These are going to be the lines for all the rest of time of the existence of these states within this country. Period. End of story. Case closed. Anyway, regardless of whether it's a red state or blue state, we are seeing significant manipulation in the legislative redrawing of districts, said Tom Lopak, CEO of the Nonpartisan Voter Participation Center, which has advocated for the bill. H.R. 1 presents an opportunity for everyone to get on board with independent, unbiased, and balanced redistricting that, frankly, is good government. Good government. Good is not really the adjective that should be put for government, generally speaking. And the fact that you put it right here is just making me laugh at that notion even more. It would also give the public a whole new level of scrutiny and a chance to object to badly drawn districts. The law would require a public comment period and give citizens a legal basis to challenge gerrymandering. How? I don't see it. I mean, ultimately, the decision making is still being put onto 15 people from 3 different parties, and they still have the same amount of ability to just dismiss those people's opinions and only go for what their constituents want or whatever. I mean, you're just not making any sense, Wash Poe. Currently, gerrymandering challenges have to be made on constitutional grounds, and if a law were passed, there would be a clearer argument to present in court against gerrymandered districts. Big changes in campaign finance law. H.R. 1 would require super PACs and dark money, quote-unquote, groups to disclose their donors publicly. Fair enough, but you could do this bill with just that without all this other shit that is attached to it. I mean, I can agree enough with this part of it, but just everything else I've seen so far is just all like goes raising too many red flags. A step Democrats say would eliminate one of the most opaque parts of the U.S. election process. It would establish a public funding match for small dollar donations financed by a fee on corporations and banks paying civil or criminal penalties. It would also require Facebook and Twitter to publicly report the source and amount of money spent on political ads. If Republicans tried to do this, the Dems would lose their minds, says Red Feather. Or something similar to this effect anyways. And stop with the 800 issue bills. Okay. New ethics rules for public servants. The bill would create the first ethics code for Supreme Court justices to be created within a year of the bill's passage. It would also stop a controversial practice in Congress. When a member of Congress settles a sexual harassment or discrimination lawsuit, in certain cases they can use taxpayer money to settle. H.R. 1 would prevent taxpayer money from being used for such settlements. The bill would also create more oversight on lobbyists and foreign agents. Oh god, they're just gonna like attach all this stuff that is unrelated to election laws, and I can see it already. The mainstream media is going to be dragging Ted Cruz or Rand Paul's or fucking Mike Lee's names through the mud. Be all like, oh, these Republicans oppose the idea of people being unable to, these senators disapprove of the idea of preventing lawmakers from using taxpayer money to fight their sexual harassment cases. They are pieces of shit for opposing this, when really that was not what they were opposing within this bill. What they were opposing was the whole election process bullshit attached to this. But yeah, all this more objectively virtuous looking shit right here, the mainstream media I see are just going to like be dragging people's names through the mud on that front, ignoring all the other shit that they are actually disapproving and voting down this bill for. A requirement that presidential candidates disclose their tax returns. This one is a little more relevant to recent events. Democrats have been frustrated for years that Trump never released his tax returns, and H.R. 1 require it by law. I mean, whatever opinions we might think about this, whatever opinion we might all think about this, you could still like do such a law without the attachment of all this other shit. Primitive Cash says maybe these politicians are French. Bon can sort of mean big and good depending on context. Bonjour means good day. Bon gros means big fat. Alright. Red Feather says they should limit the bills to at the most 5 issues to vote on. Yeah, I agree, Red Feather. Like all these poison pill amendments that they go adding to all these bills that look bipartisan and objective in the virtuous nature of them. Can it pass in the Senate? Senate Democrats plan to move the bill forward, but Republicans in the chamber have been very public with their pledge to fight it forcefully. A similar House bill was passed in 2019, and then Majority Leader Mitch McConnell refused to bring it to the Senate floor for a vote. Current Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat New York, has promised to end what he called, well, he's not technically the majority leader. I mean, I guess they're calling him majority leader because of the fact that Joe Manchin hasn't switched over to the Republican Party yet. He's still a Democrat. And the fact that Kamala Harris is essentially the tiebreaker within the Senate, if things were to be a tie along party lines anyways. Chuck Schumer has promised to end what he called McConnell's legislative graveyard and bring more bills passed by the House to the floor to force votes. But if they actually want it to pass, Democrats don't have a lot of options. Unlike the coronavirus relief package making its way through the Senate, for which Schumer only needs 50 votes plus Vice President Harris's tiebreaker, H.R. 1 isn't being passed through the special reconciliation process that requires a simple majority. Democrats' other option is to eliminate part or all of the legislative filibuster, a political bombshell that would allow them to pass much more legislation just with just 50 votes and Harris's tiebreaker. Even if they do pass it, it would probably come up against lawsuits. The Conservative Heritage Foundation has called many of the bill's provisions unconstitutional, and given how opposed congressional Republicans are to it, legal challenges seem inevitable. Okay. Political... I thought... That's the end of the article. I thought they could already get through bills with just a simple majority already. Not needing a firm supermajority or whatever. But anyway. So, going on further about H.R. 1, this is from the Free Thought Project. Now, I do not know how I feel about this website. I think Free Thought Project is like one of those websites that I go seeing a whole bunch of fanboys of SO go sharing in his Discord. Go sharing all the time stories about... this cop that did this bad act and that bad act, which obviously they're bad apples, but I don't know. I guess I'm sort of on edge about Free Thought Project. Just in regards of how it seems more often they would present the bad examples of cops and almost never the good examples of cops, like stopping a shooting or saving a life or whatever. Red Feather says, there's no way they read an entire 3-foot stack of papers. Precisely. Primitive Cash says, they probably just passed the bills just so they can then carry it to their offices to burn in their fireplaces. I don't know, maybe. Alright, but to give the sort of the benefit of the doubt to Free Thought Project, For the People Act is not what it seems. It destroys third parties, solidifies two-party dictatorship. A new bill recently introduced to Congress and passed by the House of Representatives seeks to make it nearly impossible for any third party or independent candidates to meet the requirements necessary to participate in national elections. But you wouldn't know that if you read its title or were subjected to the gerrymandering praise of the corporate media. House Resolution 1, the unironically titled For the People Act, is being promoted as the next milestone for voting rights. In reality, this is not entirely the case. A few barely noticeable caveats show its true purposes as a power grab for the two-party establishment. While H.R. 1 does have some detractors in the GOP, it isn't being met with much opposition outside of paradigm grandstanding. Ultimately, it benefits them both. I mean, I don't know. While H.R. 1 does have some detractors in the GOP, it isn't being met with much opposition outside of paradigm grandstanding. I mean, if they vote it down, I would say that it just goes outside of just grandstanding. I mean, if they go further on down the line, actually passing it, like as soon as a Republican gets into office in the presidency, and we get back the majority in the House and get a more firm majority in the Senate, and they go passing a bill like this, well then, yeah, you might have more of a point, Free Thought Project, but you're just predicting a little bit. You're just predicting the future a little bit too much. Green Party US pointed out on Twitter, Democrats are selling H.R. 1 as a voting rights bill, but they aren't telling you about a little-known poison pill designed to further restrict voter choice by suppressing independent candidates and parties. Interesting. As further elaborated on the GP website, the poison pills in the bill would most harshly affect campaign finance laws, changing the stipulations for campaign fundraising, multiplying the minimum prerequisite to acquire matching federal funds by 5 times for independent and third-party candidates. This move is particularly nefarious when considering the restrictions already in place that stifle campaign fundraising attempts for any candidate that not within the establishment are hardly fair already. They go on to state, most alarmingly, H.R. 1 quintuples the amount of money green presidential campaigns will be required to raise to qualify for federal matching funds, from $5,000 in each of 20 states to $25,000 per state. Wow. H.R. 1, a package that is sold as a voting rights bill, but would actually undermine everyone's right to organize electorally against the parties of war and Wall Street. In addition to quintupling the money presidential candidates must raise to access presidential primary public matching funds, other poison pills in H.R. 1 would abolish the general election campaign block grants that parties can access by winning at least 5% of the vote in the previous presidential election. H.R. 1 would eliminate this provision that was created to give a fair shot to alternative parties that demonstrate significant public support. Replace the general election block grants, where each qualified candidate receives a set lump sum of public funding for campaign expenses with matching funds through election day. A huge step backwards for public campaign finance reform. Using the above-mentioned criteria designed to squeeze out alternative parties and independent candidates. Eliminate the limits on donations and expenditures candidates can receive and make. What kind of campaign finance reform is that? Okay. Knowing all this, I wonder if Cal Kalinske actually knows about this. I wonder if Secular Talk, Cal Kalinske of Secular Talk goes knowing about this. You know, this might actually be worth looking into, seeing if there's an example of Cal actually speaking out against this bill just because of this little poison pill alone. Who knows? I'll have to possibly search up for it and present it on next episode of Strike Force, but excuse me. No guarantee on that front, though, because I cannot stand Cal Kalinske's voice. Inflate the amount of money national party committees can give to candidates from $5,000 to $100 million. Wow. $100 million? Shit. You can, like, buy up all the airtime space on every single television network within a given state with that kind of money for you to play your political ads. Like, holy shit, Batman. all that could be caused by just one single organization. That being one single national party committee. Wow. Like, wow. I've never been like the most vocal when it comes to campaign finance reform, but this is scary to me. Even I gotta say that this is just, I don't like this. Even somebody as apathetic as me on campaign finance reform thinks that this is pretty scary. An astonishing increase of how many? An astonishing increase of 1,999,900%. That would give party bosses virtually unlimited power to flood elections with big money. Primitive Cash says it gotta be hard to afford their favorite imported firewood from insert foreign country that bought the politician. Redfeather says, I can't wait until AOC asks everyone to vote against growing cauliflower and having garbage disposals. And Redfeather also says, yikes, to what I just read there. I guess they like Trump's campaign budget. I guess so, except Trump's campaign budget, as far as I know, most of it was from singular donations from individuals. Primitive Cash says, damn, I'd be set for life with that kind of money. Red Feather says, how else will they afford their 3 houses and $12,000 refrigerators? Right? The final point sticks out as being the most repugnant. Not only would the hidden stipulations eviscerate the ability for non-establishment candidates to finance their campaigns, but would also exponentially expand the scope of monetary power already held by the two major parties to an almost limitless capacity. H.R. 1 operates almost as a wolf in sheep's clothing. While the bill itself does provide helpful reforms to the voting process seemingly meant to strengthen the power of the people and reduce voter suppression, you almost like Free Thought Project, you're almost following along the same rhetoric and sympathies of the left and Washington Post with that line. Like, what exactly are you liking of it? You know, I do want to say that Washington Post, looking back, now that I think about it, I don't think I remember reading at any point in this article from Washington Post that they were going to eliminate voter ID. But at the same time, they didn't say anything against it, so I don't know. That seems to be kind of up in the air. I haven't read anything specifically about that. I'll have to get onto that some other time, I guess, but anyway. Such as working to reveal dark money in politics. These aforementioned caveats bottleneck the choices American voters have to only favor one corporatist imperialist candidate over another, only serving to further empower the false left-right paradigm and the illusion of choice in the Americans' electoral process, offering no real room for any real change. Knowing which corrupt corporations are bankrolling which corporate politicians is essentially useless if alternative candidates are stifled in the process. Simultaneously, while Democrats bear their weight down on one side of the aisle with virtually no true resistance from the GOP, Republicans are working to sharpen their own side of this double-edged sword. While they feign resistance against H.R. 1 to maintain optics for their constituents, the Brennan Institute for Justice has noted that so far in 2021, Republican lawmakers have introduced 165 bills to restrict people's voting access on the state level. How? I mean, no shit, Sherlock. No shit. Of course. I mean, H.R. 1 is meant to overrule state laws and loosen up and make it easier for people to vote, and by extension, make it easier for people to possibly even get away with fraud or whatever. I mean, no shit, Sherlock. Whereas Republicans, they're doing the opposite. They're trying to make it harder for people to, for irresponsible people to vote. And by the way, don't anybody dare accuse me of dog whistling right there. I mean, this applies to all people of all races, what I'm saying when I go saying that. Prevent either irresponsible people, lazy people who are too lazy to update their registrations from voting, and also try to alleviate voter fraud as well. I mean, you did not make an argument to make me have an uglier picture of Republicans in this case, Free Thought Project. You failed. Sorry. Political theater aside, when looked at from outside of a partisan perspective, both of these efforts combine to equate to a two-pronged attack against liberty. While there are still some overlapping conflicts among these actions, overall the people still end up holding the short straw. I could go on about voting rights and how that does and does not apply under liberty, but I'm just, voting rights is a little bit of a subject for another time. But anyway. Both parties maintain the illusion of working for the people and against each other, while the only real beneficiary is the system. Republicans restrict voting access on one side, Democrats strengthen the establishment candidates on the other, while they both pretend to do the opposite of what they're doing. Wait, what? Republicans restrict voting access on one side, Democrats strengthen the establishment candidates on the other, while they both pretend to do the opposite of what they're doing. Repeat that. Republicans restrict voting access on one side while they pretend to do the opposite of what they're doing. What? Citation needed? I have seen nothing but Republicans looking to try and restrict voting access. I've seen nothing of the like of the opposite. Not even a single anecdote. Now, I will not rule it out that there are anecdotes of Republicans who are sympathetic with Democrats who want to loosen up voting laws. But all the same, this hurts my brain. This just breaks my head right here, this line. Republicans have not pretended to be the opposite of wanting to restrict voting access. What are you on about, Free Thought Project? You're just wrong. Furthermore, H.R. 1 is an blatant typo. I think what you meant to say is a blatant affront to constitutionality. In a recent, I agree. It overturns states' rights. In a recent opinion piece by The Hill titled H.R. 1 is for the politicians, not the people, U.S. Representative Rodney Davis, Republican of Illinois, acknowledges. Another reason this bill is for the politicians and not the people is it violates Article 1, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution by impeding states' constitutionally mandated right to decide how their elections should be administered. Excuse me. Mandated right? I don't know if I like the term mandated right. When you go saying that somebody has a mandated right, it's like that you're saying that you're mandating this person to utilize their right. Like if, say, you got a right to a gun, I'm going to start mandating you to utilize that right. In other words, mandate you to get a gun when they might possibly have a different intent as far as guns go within their personal life anyways. I don't like that term, mandated right, but anyway. States know their residents' election needs much better than a federal bureaucracy does. Instead of trying to deal with voting issues on a case-by-case basis and working with localities and states, H.R. 1 is a federal takeover of our election process. It's a takeover without any safeguards against irregularities within our voting system. Violating your First Amendment rights isn't for the people, quote unquote. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, an organization typically in support of the policies advanced by the Democratic Party, opposes this bill because of the many provisions in H.R. 1 that would unconstitutionally impinge on the free speech rights of American citizens and public interest organizations. How exactly is it meant to impinge? Impinge, is that a real word? Well, I'm just going to pretend that you use the word infringe. How is it designed to infringe on people's free speech rights? Like, to play devil's advocate, I don't see as to how that H.R. 1 is designed in that way. Not even, the only source that I read on that front on what is in H.R. 1 is Washington Post. That's the only source that I read on that front. So maybe there is some bullshit attached to H.R. 1 that Washington Post is omitting, is not telling us. But all the same, like, I just don't see it. Red Feather says mandate is a sexist word. I love it, Red. Red Feather also says a little bit earlier, hey, dead people should be able to vote too. Hashtag Dead Lives Matter. Red Feather says pretend to do the opposite of what they're doing. Primitive Cash says Republicans openly talk of voter registration. He also said a little bit later, mandate, a dangerous word for government to use. Precisely why I did not like that. Anyway, they will have the effect of harming our public discourse by silencing necessary voices that would otherwise speak out about the public issues of the day. How are they silencing necessary voices? Or are they just taking away the encouragement and the incentive from people to speak out? By the way, I just noticed that's like a grenade right there that is designed to look like a keyboard keys. That's kind of cool. Anyway, speaking to PolitiFact, a spokeswoman for the ACLU elaborated their multiple concerns with the bill as well as the provisions the organization supports. While there are a number of provisions in H.R. 1 that deserve considerations of support, as the 700-plus page piece of legislation sits in its present form, it serves largely as a virtue-signaling power grab. Indeed, pretty much. I will wholesale agree with Free Thought Project on. I think that they put it there correctly. H.R. 1 is a virtue-signaling power grab. On the surface, it sounds all fluffy and virtuous, but the underlying tone of it is being a power grab. And it comes during a time when Americans desperately deserve alternatives from the norm. Currently, in the United States, public faith and participation in the electoral process is at an all-time low. Again, to argue for devil's advocate here, H.R. 1 is not explicitly... People are doing that because of their own volition. They are not participating in the process because they have decided not to take the sufficient effort themselves to participate in it. Even though they have the ability, they just think that it's too strenuous of an effort. Or they ultimately think that's not worth it. It's not like the government is saying, no, you cannot participate in the election process. Americans are sick of the two corporate parties that do more to carry the status quo for the predator class than to oppose it. For years, more Americans have refused to vote than have actually voted, specifically because of this dissatisfaction. In recent voting cycles, the demand for alternative political parties has continued to gain support. Libertarians and Greens are continuing to rise in popularity among young Americans, as is the sentiment for new political parties such as the Constitution Party or the People's Party. While here at TFTP, we are unapologetic advocates of liberty and thusly oppose statism in general, it can be recognized that truly democratizing and diversifying the electoral process is a step in the right direction, at least ideologically, for the people to begin to retake some control over their lives. Did you really just advocate for a straighter democracy within our republic? Democracy does not... democracy is not mutually inclusive of putting power back into people's hands. I mean, democracy can be damn well, exploited by politicians for their own gain. It's the whole reason why we live in a republic. So that, the foolish or easily fooled majority cannot so easily vote in the favor of whatever way that a politician or a media pundit goes saying they ought to vote. Wow, you just turning me off. You just turned me off again, Free Thought Project. I'm really having a meh opinion of you. And yet maybe even slightly less than meh. But anyway, and yet the typical fashion of the ruling class legislative language is half irony and half Orwellian doublespeak. Many times the names of these bills are the antithesis of what they actually do. The infamous USA Freedom Act subsequently stole more of our liberty under domestic security laws, and recent coronavirus relief packages has primarily allocated billions of dollars to corporate monopolies, and political special interests, while leaving suffering American people high and dry, all during a crisis predominantly facilitated by the state. The For the People Act is no different and should be more aptly named the last attempt to save a dying empire act. End of article. Well, anyway. Yeah, I'm not too impressed by Free Thought Project. Like, I was on edge about them beforehand with how passionately anti-cop they seem to be, but with the language that they use within that article, basically sympathizing with the idea that HR 1 is meant for, sympathizing with that idea and sympathizing with straighter democracy, they're just even more turning me off. Free Thought Project is, anyways. Hello, Cat Chat. How are you doing? How's the weather there in Aussie land? I can't believe people get paid to write articles like this, says Red Feather. Yeah, I mean, it is how it is. But anyway, last article for the day, folks, and then I am going to get myself to bed because I want to jog in the morning and then I have work. So actually, this is a very short article, so this won't be too long. But anyway. Antifa rioters burn U.S. flag, storm courthouse, and clash with police in Portland, Oregon. This is March 12th, 2021, by the way, folks. So this ain't old news right here. Apparently, there are more recent riots, which I guess is a no-shit Sherlock sort of circumstance. But anyway. Because I go hearing that Portland is one of the more consistent cities in this country to suffer protests and even riots. Excuse me. Hot, says Cat Chat. Well, I guess that should be no shit. And hello, reset button in the chat. Antifa protesters burned U.S. flags, stormed a bank, and clashed with police outside a federal courthouse in Portland, Oregon on Thursday. The original protest, intended as a demonstration against immigration and customs enforcement, escalated when agitators began smashing a federal courthouse and burning American flags, according to the Daily Mail. And just to clarify to the people who are just now tuning in, if you are tuning in because of the title subject of this live stream, essentially being a response video to the Progressive Voice on abortion, well, that's already passed, well and done. Like, if you want to, like, watch that part, go watch this live stream after I go off air and, watch it from the beginning. Like, fast forward about 5 minutes, I think, and then you'll get to the portion where I go responding to Progressive Voice, if that's what you are here for. Otherwise, I'm just about to, because I'm about to just end this live stream after this rather short article. Protesters could be seen in videos posted on social media setting fires around the courthouse. Antifa set fire to the federal courthouse in downtown Portland. A journalist, Andy No, tweeted, "There are people inside." I don't so much feel comfortable about playing these videos right here, folks. I'm not going to lie, because I don't know if there is something inappropriate that is going to end up my live stream being taken down, and I really don't want it to be taken down because a whole lot of fiery and passionate commentary that went on here on this live stream that I do not want getting wasted and thrown away into the ether by YouTube. In another video, federal agents could be seen deploying tear gas and firing pepper balls into the crowd as they attempted to restore order. Also tweeted by Andy No. Scenes of chaos have returned at the heart of downtown Portland as federal officers mobilized to protect the courthouse after Antifa set it on fire. I mean, let me just say that them attacking a public piece of property like a courthouse, that is at least more understandable, I will say, than them attacking private businesses. But all the same, yeah. Reset button says, LOL, BLM bitch slapped Antifa the other night. Okay, well, good on BLM. I mean, I will say that as much shit as I give Black Lives Matter, I will say at least that Black Lives Matter is the lesser evil against Antifa. Because whereas Black Lives Matter, they might have attached to them a whole lot of economic policies that they believe in that I completely disagree with, their main goal is racial justice, which, despite whatever the slight disagreements I might have with them on the race narrative that they like to trot out, at least that's a less red flag raising a principle or goal of theirs than what Antifa looks, which Antifa, their more sole focus is communism, to be spreading communism, or at least a more economically left-leaning society. At least social democracy, if not communism at worst. Garrison Davis says downtown Portland at the federal courthouse, anti-DHS, ICE, and Stop Line 3 protesters gather. A few of the remaining uncovered windows have been broken. An American flag burns in front of the door. The glass door gets smashed and DHS agents unload pepper balls into the crowd. Rioters also attempted to break into a Chase bank and appeared to be kept at bay by an armed security guard. Antifa and other far-left rioters in Portland tried to break into the Chase bank. Oh. Ugh, my throat is so dry. I felt it collapsing in on myself right there as I was speaking. That was weird. Anyway, Antifa and other far-left rioters in Portland tried to break into the Chase Bank. A lone security guard tried holding them back. He pulled out a pistol during the mob attack, hashtag Portland riots. So, this is from Andy. A lot of these tweets... Oh, actually, let me finish off the article very quickly. Rioting has become common in Portland since last summer, and the city, at one point last year, witnessed violence in the streets from Antifa for 100 days in a row. Holy shit, Sherlock. Portland's grim reality. 100 days of protests, many violent. That article I'm going to have to save to read for later, because apparently this is a piece of history that I have not read up on. Like, I knew and heard all the hearsay about how that Portland suffered the worst as far as rioting goes last year, the most consistent of the rioting, even more so than Minneapolis, but all the same, I didn't know that it was that bad. I did not know the details. I'm gonna have to read that sometime later. But anyway, so I was about to say about Andy Ngo. So this specific Washington Examiner article goes citing Andy Ngo as the source for their information right here. Like, I don't know how I feel about that personally. I mean, excuse me, some of my internet peers on the right go saying essentially that Andy Ngo isn't that bad as far as his reporting goes and whatnot, but I'm still kind of on edge about him personally. I would have wished that Washington Examiner set their own reporters or gone off of the basis of some other reporter. But if anybody goes like doubting the context of the video, the link for this article is down in the description box below if you want to see the videos for yourself. And I'll probably go ahead and go looking at the articles myself, or the videos myself, at some later point. But for right now, Red Feather says 100 is a low estimate in my opinion. Maybe. But anyway, 2 hours and 19 minutes of a live stream. I did not intend for this to be this long, but it is what it is. Before I get out of here though, Mr. DJ Fly High asks, could you see Trump coming back? Me personally, no, I cannot see him coming back. And Mr. DJ Fly High, I just recently saw the notification that you subscribed to my channel. Like, you subscribed just today, I think it was. Maybe it was yesterday, but I'm pretty sure that you just subscribed today. And just a little a full disclosure about me, I am not the most passionate Trump fan. I'm more of a Trump skeptic, honestly. I did vote for him in 2020 as a, reluctantly mind you, as a rather a lesser of two evils sort of vote. In 2016, I voted for Evan McMullin and not for Trump. But, yeah. I mean, there's full disclosure on my beliefs, but I'd like to explain my fuller beliefs on Trump at some other point, but that's the basis. And it's just my basic opinion that I think that Trump has been kind of a blot on, and kind of a drag on the Republican Party. Not like the Republican Party was doing any better beforehand, before coming into the fray, but Trump has made it worse. I mean, yeah, he himself has had a little bit more balls in being blunt in saying of what has to be said, like on the front of North Korea, more specifically, I guess you could say, as compared to other Republicans. But at the same time, he has been not very articulate to where that it's embarrassing, to where it's been a drag on the Republicans. And he's went on some issues that I don't think should be went on about, like flag burning, for example. And, the precedent that he has set in restricting guns during his presidency, or at least being open to the idea of putting more restrictions on guns. So ultimately, I don't really want to see him come back. I don't want to see him run in 2024. Just personally. If he runs in 2024, I'm not going to vote for him in the primaries. I'm 99% sure that I won't vote for him in the primaries in 2024. But would I vote for him in the general election against, say, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris running for re-election in 2024? Even then, I'm not so sure right now. But we'll have to see. We'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But that's all I have to say. Enough of my rambling about Trump. If you all like this live stream, well then by all means, click that like button down below. If you'd like to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to keep notified about what I post, make sure to hit that bell notification button and set it to all. Although, unfortunately, Michaela Stray Cat says that he wasn't able to get any notifications of my activity at all, even though he set his notifications to all on my channel. So that's unfortunate. There's an off chance that setting it to all might not help you, but it still makes it a little bit more likely. And if you're a detractor, if you do not like the fact that I responded to your senpai, the progressive voice, well then go ahead and hit that dislike button as well. It helps in the algorithm as well. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and good night to you too, Red Feather, and hope to see y'all later. Good night. God bless.